All right, so here we are, episode 14, guys. Cutler Cast is live. We actually came back from San Diego last night, and we wanted to get something in quick because we had a pretty eventful weekend, and we want to touch upon a couple of things. So
what did you think about the traffic on the way home?
It's terrible. We always talk about traffic. All stop and go.
I didn't hit it. I hit it a little bit around LA, and so one time in my life I ran out of gas, and that was on the way moving out here because my vehicle said I had 50 miles left.
Towing the trailer,
and 10 minutes later I ran out. So I had that flashback. I'm getting to the end of like San Bernardino, and I'm going up these hills, and it says the next one's 7 miles away, and my light comes on, and I was like, oh no, am I going to run out of gas again? But I ended up making it.
See, I've ran out of gas too many times, so I know better now. I don't really push it too far. And I remember yesterday when I was driving, and she's like, we had like half a tank of gas, and she's like, we need to get gas in San Diego. I said, no, we're going to get it like when we get a place where we can just pull off the freeway, which I should have just got it because the hotel had like 2 gas stations like
across
100 yards down. Yeah. But of course I waited until we got a little bit out because I just wanted to get on the road. And, I figured after 10 o'clock, and it reminds me so much why I hate California with the traffic.
I thought it was your favorite place.
I love the weather, but the traffic is horrendous. And luckily we didn't have to drive that far. I mean, we went to the gym that night. The first night we got there, we set up the booth and whatever, but we were able to go train at the gym.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite places to train, but the parking lot was crazy full.
Of course.
We had to park up top. And,
we had to park up in some trolley station and walk.
But, man, we talked about the activity in the gym and how crazy it was, and they're like, it isn't even busy.
Yeah, no.
How crazy was it?
I'm thinking of something else before that. So we're walking down, and you're like, some fan's going to see me walking down the side of the street, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nah, whatever. And then a couple minutes later, yo, Jay Cutler. The guy who was standing there, you're like, see, you should have filmed this.
Yeah, because I was ready to train. I mean, that's the thing is, like, I love going to places and checking out the scenery and gyms. And like I said, it's one of my favorite places. Derek trains there, and, Sergio was there, and we get to visit with him.
What's maybe touch on the history a little bit about that gym, because it was iconic for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it was Gold's, and then it was World's, and now it's called The Gym.
The Gym, yeah.
And, it's right there off the 5 freeway. You can see it. And I know Nasser back in the day, Milos used to train there. I mean, some of the greats were there. I'm sure there's a long list of others, but it has like they did a huge thing during the pandemic or whatever. They opened up the rooftop, so they had like an outdoor, which we didn't get to go up. I'm disappointed because when I was talking to Doug Miller, who owns Core and obviously helps me sell the products, he was like, oh yeah, we trained outside. It was great. We didn't even think of that. We should have gone up there and trained.
Yeah.
Because it probably wouldn't have been, we wouldn't have been as crowded, right? But I'm used to working out downstairs, and I mean,
I didn't even know they had that on the roof. I didn't.
Yeah, so if we went up another level past where we did cardio at the end, we would have been able to do that. So anyone that's in the San Diego area, you got to check out that gym. It's just, it's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, besides just the parking situation, but once you get inside, I like it because it has all kinds of new equipment, but it has some real iconic equipment. And when you look around, you see all the old marketing from companies that are 20 years old. You're like, oh, man, just so-and-so used to be with that company. They still have that on the wall. Yeah. So you get to see a lot of cool stuff. But
yeah, and we were able to do radio that morning, which is cool. We got up super early, and I have a film of that, so I'll be putting that up somewhere on YouTube. But we were able to film for one of the major radio stations there.
And then people can hear you try to...
Oh, yeah, I was guessing.
Try to sing.
No, it wasn't sing.
Finish that lyric.
Yeah, finish the lyric, and I figured out, what was it, Debbie something?
Yeah, and then Gangster's Paradise, Coolio came up, and you didn't know the lyrics.
I didn't know the
so
lyrics.
You got clowned.
I mean, I could have said, I guess they would have given me the points just because it was me, but I let the girl have one.
You're a big loser.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But it was fun. It was a little different than we've done in the past, and I think we've been there once before. I've been there a couple of times, but I think you came with me last time, and like you said, it was a little more involved.
Yeah, no, I mean, we went down there for the San Diego Fit Expo, and that was the first expo they've had since January of 2020.
Yeah,
because everything's been shut down. So it was nice to get there and just actually have an expo again, and we had no idea what to expect because it was the first one. In California, they're a little more strict with restrictions in general.
San Diego, they weren't shit.
San Diego wasn't. Yeah. No, they weren't. But it was just nice to have the expo there. There was a muscle contest show there, which was crazy busy. So for overall, the expo was a lot busier than I thought it would be. And we had you come. We had Guy Sister Nino. We had Sergio Oliva. We had Urishna. Who else we see there? Doug Miller was there. Who else? I know I'm missing some other people.
Yeah. Yuxano was there. Yep, Chris Cormier was there.
Yep. Brad Castleberry. Breon
Ainsley was there.
So it was a good turnout. Yeah. It was a good turnout, and I'm glad we went down there. And
we were kind of dreading. I mean, I had you drag the booth down because you actually drove separate because you had to go do a couple things while you were down there. But we were installing that 20-foot booth, and you guys can see the pictures of it. It's kind of a pain to put together the first couple times you do it, but. Angie, myself, and you seem to do it pretty quickly.
If somebody did it on their own, it would just be you need two people to put that booth.
But it was great because we were able to whip it up quick, and I thought we had pretty good presence there. I was able to, showcase a lot of the products and give some samples, and a lot of people showed up on Saturday. Sunday was a little slower, but I've been involved with the Fit Expo since 2003. So they started with the Ironman in Pasadena, and I mean it's been around since. So I don't really miss many. Unless I'm booked in. I mean, we've been all over Philadelphia, Chicago.
They were supposed to have Miami when the hurricane came through.
I did Fort Lauderdale one year. That was the one year they did it. And I'm always excited to go. I mean, I was planning on staying a couple of days, but I wanted to get back for the Black Friday stuff, and here we are, of course, filming the podcast. So it's just good to be back.
One of the funnier parts is, so when we get to the hotel. There's a guy comes up and takes a picture with you.
With a big camera,
Yeah, he's like, I'm here with Sierra Canyon, the basketball team. And I remember, I pay attention. I'm like, that's one of the top programs in America. Like, I know they have a bunch of NBA players, teams, kids on the team. And we thought nothing of it. And then the next day or something, you're like, yo, man, there's a bunch of guys.
I came down the elevator, and I went to step out, and there was a guy, and he was like, kind of like had his arm around a guy, one of the young kids. And, the young kid had his hoodie pulled, and he had it tied, and it was like just surrounding his face like this. But he had an earpiece in. I noticed that. So I came out, and I thought it was kind of weird, because I knew that, like, it was a bunch of kids, right? Yeah. And I came over to you. I said, I just saw this security guy, and you remember what we were talking about yesterday in that high school? And you look at the first player's name on the list, and it was LeBron's son, Bronny James.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, dude, not only that, the guy came back down later and we were chatting with him, and he said they had Scottie Pippen's son, LeBron's, I guess one or two of the cheerleaders are Diddy's daughter or daughters or something like that. He said Kevin Hart's sons are there, so he's like, there's a lot of important people there. And when you think about it, we were talking with Sergio Oliva Jr. about this, and he was like, man, like, my dad is iconic in this, but I don't have to have security because somebody could legitimately look at him and go, dude, your dad's, very famous. He's a $1 billion brand.
Very controversial too.
Yeah, he is. He has no problem saying what's on his mind. And it's crazy that a high school kid has to have security 24 hours just to be able to play.
3 or 4.
Yeah. He said there's 3 security people with him at all times. And he said the shit that he gets every game they go to, it's ridiculous. The type of shit that he gets because he's LeBron's son.
Yeah, I think he's a junior, so I mean he's he's getting up there. I know that the whole goal, I mean I've heard this anyway, is that LeBron wants to try to play with his son, right?
Yeah. And it's legitimate. It could happen. Yeah. I mean, he's another 2 years if he went to the NBA. I mean,
what do you think possible, Jay?
I think they're going to do it just because it's a
so that'll be the first time it's ever been done, right?
Probably the first time and the only time.
But there's a lot of ball players that have sons that end up playing ball.
Oh, yeah, but not. That longevity is crazy. Yeah, just think about it. I mean, he's one of the top players in high school.
How many years now he been in the league?
LeBron, 18, I think, right? 18. And he's still a legitimate top 5 player.
And it's funny, he had a little controversy this weekend.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. I'm watching all these things, and so many people are like, they're so angry about it. They're like, look what he did, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, they were jockeying for position, and elbows are thrown. Now,
it was a fist, actually.
It was, but dude, people throw fists all the time. Like, get off me, get off me. That's normal. Did he mean to throw a fist? Yes.
Unfortunately, it hit him in the face.
Did he mean to hit him in the face? But no.
He got 5 stitches, I think, from that. So,
but
Isaiah Stewart.
Isaiah Stewart. And
former boxer.
Former boxer. I think the problem was...
He's only 20 years old.
Yeah, he doesn't know any better. Yeah. But the problem was it happened in Detroit, which had the malice at the palace, which was when the players went up in the crowd and fought the fans.
Well, it's funny because they were announcing, if you listen to the all the coverage, stay in your seats, stay in your seats.
Of course, because
stay in your seats.
And I was listening to Jalen Rose talk about it, and a bunch of the players from that team were in the crowd watching the game.
Yeah.
They were like, oh shit, is this going to happen again? But it is what it is. I saw he got suspended for a game, and I'm not like, I don't have an opinion about it either way. Mm-hmm. The league has to make sure nothing bad happens.
I think that they had to penalize him. Yes. Did he mean it? I don't think he meant to punch him in the face.
No.
But I think he meant to, like you said, smack the arms away. So I think they had to eject both of them, and I don't know where the fines go or anything like that.
They got LeBron got suspended for 1 game without pay. Just imagine how much that is, though.
We're trying to figure out how much.
Well, you take 82 games time. What's his salary? $41 million. Divide 82 by 41, and that's how much he loses.
Yeah.
So he loses it. The other guy Isaiah got suspended for 2 games. That's as far as it goes. The part that sucks is LeBron's getting suspended for the game.
$500,000.
Yeah, $500,000. So LeBron's getting suspended for tonight's game.
That's nothing to him.
And it's in New York. And that's the only time they're playing there all year. And he's at the end of his career. So think of how many fans bought those tickets in advance to see him.
Play,
Like, I think they should have said, you're going to be suspended for your next home game.
Okay.
But those fans there paid obscene amounts of money because it could be his last. Who knows? I mean, I know he wants to play till his son's there, but something could happen and he might have to retire. Not many people go 18 years. I think they should have moved it to
what do our listeners think of that? Do they agree with you that they should have suspended him for a home game instead of the next consecutive
that would be
game?
And it's a nationally televised game.
Yeah.
In Madison Square Gardens, the mecca of basketball.
The Lakers aren't playing so well this year, though.
They suck.
So far,
That's okay.
I mean, we didn't even know he was back when we were talking about it. We're like, oh, LeBron's.
Yeah, we had no idea.
And all of a sudden, we were watching the game. And you're like, oh, LeBron's actually playing right now.
Yeah, I didn't think.
And the Celtics, of course, blew him out. So
no, they didn't. Right. Oh, the Celtics.
Yeah, Celtics did. Yeah. They won against the Pistons. Yeah. So we're wrapping up the end of the season. I know we thought there was only one show because the Spain show's coming this Sunday.
There's two more shows after.
So the Spain show is called what? The
big man weekend.
Okay. Yeah. So I know Amir, who's that 22-year-old. He placed like 4th at the last show. I mean, he's doing it. He's a German bodybuilder. He's up and coming. They just had a thing on RX Muscle about him. Mm-hmm. I know Chris trains him, but we were thinking that was the end. But you mentioned Toronto Pro still
Toronto
coming.
Pro, and there's another one in Paraguay.
Okay,
that's the last one.
So obviously, no one. I don't know what we got for U.S. competitors. You just mentioned Ashley K.
I just saw Ashley Kaltwasser is the only really known person that I've seen doing the show in Spain. Usually someone did it, like Rami was going to do it one year, and I think Ian won it one year.
What's her record now?
She passed Dexter.
Has she hit 30?
Romania was 30.
Okay.
So she's the all-time winning.
So Ashley Kaltwasser, former Miss Olympia bikini.
3-time.
3-time champ, who got 3rd this year.
Yep.
We've kind of supported her through the channel also.
Yeah, I mean, she's local, and she's also a trifecta athlete.
Yep.
And, it's just, look, she's in the history books now.
She's crazy, man. She's still doing it.
I mean, dude, 30 wins. Like, just think of how hard it was. It's to get a win. It's not easy no matter where you're at, especially in bikini, because think how many people are in the show. Some of those shows got 40 girls.
Yeah, it's just crazy that they have so many contests now. I mean, back in my era, if you recall, like you placed in the top 5 at like Night of Champions, which is now New York Pro, or Arnold Classic top 5. Olympia, if you were top 10, you requalified, and now they have this point system. And, they have made some changes to it. Do I agree or disagree with the points? I mean, I think it was made realistically to, help these promoters to get the athletes, have them competing more. But I think on the top tier bodybuilding level, we've always suggested that it's really hard to peak several times a year. I mean, I remember when Ronnie said, in 2001 when he did the Arnold and then, of course, tried to go to the Olympia, it was just too much for him. And, I was doing it constantly. I was doing the Arnold and Olympia and, a couple of shows in between. I mean, Dexter competed a lot more. He was a lot smaller. But I just think for the bigger guys, it's just really hard to peak. Hence, that's why like Hunter and Nick Walker are sitting out and competing. Look at Hadi Chupin. He probably won't compete again.
It's hard for Hadi
because the top five requalifies, right?
Yes, top five.
So, and there's no shows in Iran, right? So, I think ideally, like if I was to have a choice, I would, once again, I'd bring back certain placings at the tier shows, and definitely, have those as qualifying. For the women, it's just like, what is it like for the bikini? Like for example,
only the winner,
only the winner, so.
only the winner, and then a former Miss Olympia. If you got second, you got to go requalify.
I wonder how the women feel about it, though. I wonder how the women feel that they need to constantly compete.
I actually listened to an interview Ashley did, and she was talking. They were talking about the placing, prize money, and this that.
The prize money isn't very much.
Yeah. She just said she agreed with where it's at but a lot of the bikini girls, some of those girls are in that shape year round. Even if they're not competing, they're very close to it. Like Ashley stays in contest shape pretty much year round.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of manipulating certain things. So some girls, they don't have to go to the measures that the guys do to get that lean. I mean, look, I'm not by any means belittling a girl that has to get ready for a show because every person's different. But some of those girls are in pretty much contest shape year round, so they can do a lot more shows. To where a 300, like a guy like Big Ramy, he can't go do like Ashley 10, 12 shows in a year.
Yeah,
it's impossible. He would just get worse and worse throughout the year.
Yeah, I just wonder about the point system, how the guys feel about it. I mean, I've never really had a discussion about him. I mean, like I said, I thought Sergio and like Steve Kukla, and listen, there's many others, but like two guys that I kind of followed, those guys should have been at the Olympia, I feel. I mean, I just feel it's two bodies that should have been there. Not to say I'm discrediting other people, but like there was so much hype around that. And, unfortunately for Sergio, like he tried to peak too late. And I mean, we discussed this with his future plans now.
Yeah, we
and
talked to him over
he's going to get in a little earlier next year because he doesn't want to miss that opportunity. But it's really difficult, man, like for these guys to get in and manage.
So what is it? The top five and then a winner of a show. And then I think
what's
top
the Arnold Classic? Is it Arnold Classic top three or
no, only the winner?
Just the winner? Oh,
only the winner.
See.
So to get into the Olympia, you have to either be a former Mr. Olympia, you have to be top five at the Olympia the year before, or you had to have won a show, and then they take points, and the top 3 point people get into the Olympia.
Yeah, so, you know why I don't like it? I'm going to tell you why I don't like it as much. And when I remember when I did like Night of Champions and like when I did Arnold, like they covered the flights. It was invitation, right? So when it was invitation, like for the Arnold, they covered the flights. The Olympia covered the flights. But like you go to these shows, it's really, really difficult financially to fly yourself there. So when they have a lot of these qualifying shows, like they have Spain and they have Prague and they have these other, and you're having to cover the flights to go there. Plus hotels, plus the food expense, different culture. Like, it makes it really difficult. So if you can't get in those shows in the U.S., it just limits, what you're able to do. And some of these guys financially can't afford it.
I always say for any athlete that's going into a show, just budget $3,000 just to do it. Budget $3,000 between
that's enough?
Flight, hotel. Yeah. And that's if you're flying
and a lot of guys don't have a sponsor. Yeah, I mean, listen, you're going to fly economy. I mean, I always flew economy up until I became like the biggest name. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I still to this day, like I'll still budget flights and say, was it worth it to fly this or that? You know? But
you look at it like, let's say you're going to go do a show in Idaho.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're flying from, $500 for a ticket. You're going to bring somebody with. It's $1,000. You're going to stay at a hotel that has to have a kitchen. You're going to have to rent a car. Uber doesn't always make sense if you have to go to the grocery store every day, or you have to go to the gym twice a day, or you start adding it up between those costs, the rental car, the food, the tan. If you don't have a tan sponsor, you can just budget about $3,000.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't the availability. So when I turned pro, it was like, okay, you do the Night of Champions, right? Mm-hmm. And then, or the next year you do the Arnold if you place well. The first thing is like you have to win the NOC. And then you're at the level where you can go to the Arnold Classic, and then, of course, the Olympia is the big one, right? And then they have the European tours after, which, that was part of the whole thing. But I think that was covered. Like, the promoters would cover many of the guys to travel there, at least the top names. So I think, for me, it was a lot less contest, which now, I mean, look, we don't even know about. There's a lot of hidden contests.
I had no idea that Prague show was I mean, not Prague, I'm sorry, the Paraguay show, until I looked up the schedule before we started this. I was like, shit, there's
they still have the Masters USA, so there's pro shows for, like, the Masters. There's a pro division in that, right?
Yeah, there's a couple shows that have Master Pro.
Or you get a pro card, but Nationals is coming up, too, and that's obviously the biggest show that everyone seems to be working towards. Probably what we saw this weekend at the Fit Expo, people were trying to qualify to be, but they're
trying to qualify for Nationals to get their pro status, which you turn pro at.
Yeah. And I want to touch a little bit on, old school versus new school, too. There seems to be a lot of discussion. And, lately I've been seeing some rumblings about how, the older bodybuilders, it's kind of an ongoing thing, but, like, how they feel about new age bodybuilding. There's been a lot of negative stuff about that, where I think, I just hate to compare generations. And, I feel that definitely things have changed in a good way and a bad way, obviously.
Of course, both.
I just feel when Joe Weider, like, when he had the Olympia, I've mentioned this before, where it was like you had a contract under Weider, and your whole goal was to get into Mr. Olympia. So it didn't matter. You had to compete as many times as you could in order to qualify and get into the Olympia, because he wanted all his roster in the Olympia. But you also had a contract, so you were paid by the organization, meaning, like, the guy who hosts the biggest show of the year, you were able to be paid to compete. Like, that was your job, and it wasn't a huge salary. Like, Joe Weider,
it's enough to pay.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about budgeting for show, and they covered expenses and whatever else if there was expenses. But I think now, like, a lot of people are looking and criticizing the physiques of how much bigger the guys have gotten. How do you feel about that?
I think it just depends on the individual, because there were, even when you were competing, there were guys just as big now. Nasser, you, Ronnie.
John Pierre Fuchs.
Yeah, those guys were approaching Ronnie was approaching 300 pounds. So I know they'll look at some of the guys now and go, look at how big they are. They were just as big back then.
Yeah, but I'm talking like the eras before, too.
Yeah.
Like Robbie Robinson eras, Frank
Zanes,
you
see a lot of those guys seem angry about it. And I don't know why they could be angry just because the finances weren't there. And there's more avenues to make money now where there wasn't then. But once Lee Haney came in, the physique started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Now how heavy was Lee Haney?
I think it was 260 his last Olympia.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, Phil never hit 260.
Yeah.
Dexter never hit it. You did, but
I was still my best at 255.
Exactly. So your best shape was there. And Ronnie Coleman's best shape was in the 250s.
Yeah.
Obviously he got bigger along the ways, but people can go back.
I think they see the big Rami, and he's 300 pounds, and they look at Nick Walker, who's, young and really big. But I mean, listen, we're all big. Like, Walker's, he's, what was he, 240 something? Or?
He was in the 240s, but look, he's about the same height as Rolly, and Rolly's still got, at his peak, Rolly still probably had 20 pounds on him.
I just feel like there's not a lot of huge new names that are all fighting for the crown. You still have, like, the Bonics, and, Hottie's been around a minute, and Brandon's been there for a minute, and, of course, Rami. So until we see the new blood come in, and the new blood, like, Sergio, Nick Walker, Ian, Hunter.
None of those, the new blood guys have challenged the top yet. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, they're like Hunter got in that top 5, but he wasn't a threat to Rami yet. Nick wasn't a threat to Rami yet. Regan isn't a threat to Rami yet. So there's nobody there that's threatening that may, or even Brandon. They haven't threatened those guys, but I think this next year, I think you're going to see some of those guys pull forward. And I don't know which one it'll be, but I do think you're going to see some of those young guns actually get compared next to him and push Rami. Or Hottie, or look, Hottie could still push. Hottie and Brandon still push Rami. But
yeah, it's just unfortunate because we got two guys, that miss a lot of publicity because they're not here. And that's Rami and Hottie.
Yes.
They're both overseas. Like, we don't get to see as much. I don't see him as much on social media. Like,
no.
showing the personality as much. Like, this is what I do on a daily basis. Like, I think about what I put on Instagram and what I put on my DVDs, and it was like, here's me with the dogs, here's me driving to the gym, like showcasing the workouts, which we'll see here and there, but we don't see like moving around in public. We don't see them at expos or necessarily meet and greets where we can sit and visually like watch how it goes down. So I think that tends to hurt the top tier bodybuilding.
It hurts bodybuilding in general. To be
Yeah,
honest. It does.
And if I can be suggestive, like I always encourage everyone to get on their media and like showcase everything, right?
Yeah.
That, you know, you'd be shocked at what people want to see, you know? I mean, I talked about how I put the plates on the machines and, you know, things I talked about, the little just tweaks that you do in order to train correctly, but also the nutrition. Like, the nutrition's everything. Like, we go to this expo this past weekend, and all I'm talking about is like people like, I want to get bigger, I want to get leaner, I want to get, you know, I want to get in shape. It's all diet. And you know this. I mean, you just went through a diet phase, you know, prior. We had, you know, a little verbal challenge going on, and I said, man, I want you to drop. And you dropped, what, 30 pounds? Yeah. And it was all nutrition, right?
Of course.
I mean, you did cardio on a daily
20 minutes of
basis.
cardio and just clean up your diet.
But just cleaning up your diet and eating on more of a sequence and cutting out like the bad stuff. Yeah. Look how much your body transformed, you know. So,
I'm actually going to do it again. I went into the system and I had Trifecta's going to send you have a certain amount of meals coming through, and I know I consume too much food per sitting, and I need to spread it out. So I'm just going to have them do it for me.
It's amazing to think back, bro, we didn't have meal service. Like, people are shocked.
Meal service was going out to eat.
How did you do it back in the day? And I mean, I remember just carrying coolers. I would have a cooler, and I would have a piece of
igloo.
I would have a piece of paper like this, and I'd have my name and address, and I would tape all four corners on the top of a cooler, and I would tape the cooler, and I would ship it under the plane like it's a piece of luggage. Yeah. And it would have all my food prepared for like wherever I was going for 4 or 5 or 6 days or whatever. And like I said, I had the Foreman grill. This was prior to like, you know, I always never liked microwaving food. And, you know, I'd plug in that Foreman grill and I'd have everything. I'd have tin foil. So I'd put it all in tin foil. So it almost like heated, you know, instead of, you know, having plates or whatever. And I would eat the food out of the tin foil. Now people do it out of Tupperware or whatever. They heat up with a microwave.
Now you can just go online and order the food and it's delivered to your hotel.
It's crazy, man.
You know, we had Brian Shaw on our last podcast. Brian
Which
still
is
does
tremendous,
that.
By the way. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Oh, yeah. The comments, so many people. I told him for years, our guys are so much alike, because obviously I know both of you and I work with both of you, and I saw the similarities for years, and it was funny that we actually got to put you guys in front of each other. And something I've been saying for 2 years now, I'm looking at the comments, and it's the same thing across the board. Everyone sees a similarity. There's a lot more similarities. We just never got into it.
I'm kind of pissed, though, because it's like now we've kind of put our level to there.
Yeah.
Having Shaw on here, because I never realized how popular he was.
Oh, he's
got a huge following. I mean, people were texting me. I had someone text me yesterday, like, man, I just saw Brian Shaw was. I'm like, yeah, he was here for 3 days. Like, oh, I would have loved to meet that guy. Like, he's so humble. And I remember someone said to me in the gym, they're like, is he a nice guy? Because he looks kind of mean, right? He's got the shaved head and he's got the goatee and shit. And he's so soft spoken, right?
Yeah, he's a nice guy. Everywhere we go, like I said, with his popularity, I think it came from, more so being one on The World's Strongest Man, which is on ESPN and CBS. That gives you a platform. But he's been in a lot of like commercials throughout the years.
The hefty bags and all that shit.
But the History Channel, the strongest men in history, really catapulted him to the average Joe knew him.
Yes, Eddie Hall was in there. And
So when we went to, we did an appearance, like I said, at Oktoberfest. Mm-hmm. This has nothing to do with strength or anything. This is a bunch of German people getting drunk. And he had 300 people in line. And people just wanted to meet him because they saw him on the channel. I mean, the mayor of the town met us there. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so excited to meet you. I watched all your shows. And you're like, this isn't somebody who's trying to be a strongman or a bodybuilder or a strength. Like, this is just average people. So his popularity goes way beyond. You know, he's got mainstream popularity, which
it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, he actually approved Teriyaki Boy, by the way. So shout out to Teriyaki Boy.
Yeah. We went and ate there.
He had the Jay Cutler Bowl several times over. And
he was like, man, if they had this in Colorado, I'd eat here 5 times
Which they
a
are
day.
franchising Teriyaki Boy. So it's just awesome to see that.
It was good. And, you know, while he was here, he had, he filmed one day. I don't know if you guys want to go look at his YouTube channel. He did a buffets all day.
Is it out yet?
I don't know if they've posted that yet, but it's going to come out soon. Yeah. Where they literally went to buffet after buffet after buffet after buffet to see how much he could eat in a day. And I remember was texting him and said, "Hey, how did the first one go?" He's like, "I feel terrible. This is a bad idea." But he's had some eating challenges on there where he'll consume 25,000 calories in a day.
People loved when I said, I could fuck with your meals.
I know so many people are coming.
So I could have back in the, remember how much we used to eat.
I think like when he was trying to get as big as he was,
a little more extreme,
10 to 12,000 a day. That would probably been. Could you have done it? Yeah, but you would have forced it. You weren't eating, basically.
I was eating clean, yeah.
You weren't eating 16 pounds of meat per meal. 16 ounces. Yeah. That's a lot. It's a lot for anyone to digest. But
either way. Let's get to some questions, guys. All right. Because we do have a few good ones here.
So the first question, it says, what's your favorite part about traveling to Australia? And what's your favorite gym to train at in Australia?
Doherty's gym, for sure. Get a shout out Doherty's. It seemed to be one every location I went to, every city, but... what I like is the people. I like the weather. I like the country. I have great memories there. I was able to tour there quite often.
Times.
Yeah, and we went for the expo in Melbourne quite a bit for the Arnold. Yeah. I just love the vibe, man. Yeah. I love just spending time there. Sydney was awesome. To spend time in Sydney. For my first trip ever was 2000. I went with Dexter Jackson for nutrition systems over there. My buddy Danny. And it was good, it was a good time, and it's just enjoyable place. It's the bucket list, like one of my favorite places for sure.
One of my favorite places in the world is Perth.
Yeah,
it reminds me of like Southern California. Yeah. It's just got nice weather. It's just laid back. It's
little less busy, right?
Yes, less busy, and I know it's the last city before you go to Antarctica.
Yeah,
so. It's kind of
takes a lot longer to get there. You land in Sydney, and then you have to fly.
It's another 5 hours.
It's like flying across the U.S. Yeah,
so it's another 5 hours. That was my favorite. The worst part about going to Australia is that damn flight.
Yeah, it's long.
16 hours. Yeah. So, next question. Big fan of the podcast. I have a question you guys could bring up in your next show. Have you ever used foam rollers, and if so, what's the best application for them?
I don't know what you mean by application.
I don't know. Maybe. Legs, arms.
Oh, okay.
Like maybe.
Of course I use foam rollers. I used, I don't want to say fiberglass because they say, but I used like a plastic roller too because my muscles obviously, were so dense. Like I used all sorts of stuff. But I would do my hip flexors. I would do my quads, my hamstrings, my calves, my lats. I would roll. I did everything, like basically just to keep the muscles more pliable. I see a lot of people in the gym prior to training, rolling out or whatever, but I always did it after. If I was training legs, it's like I always wanted to loosen things up after, keep the blood flow going through there, break up any scar tissue that might have, happened during the training or, just to keep the lactic acid flowing through and from, migrating too much, I think. I also did saunas, but I think realistically, I went back and forth between foam rollers and like a harder roller. And I see now they have more like with the notches.
They had those at the Fit Expo. They got the notches.
Yeah, and they have vibration ones and everything else. But I always suggest, a few days a week. I get up in the morning, I stretch, and I sometimes foam roll on my quads, because that's obviously when I'm doing cardio, it's more my legs.
Next question. I want to know what you and Jay think about crypto, and will you invest?
I'm invested somewhat, but not heavily, and it's one of those things where there's a lot of like controversy on which ones are the best. I know you've kind of screwed a little bit with the
little bit
altcoins and whatever, but I have Bitcoin, Ethereum. I do own some of that. I think you should have some in your portfolio, but I think we talk a lot about hard assets. You just went and bought a watch this weekend. You're a big watch guy.
I'd rather. I hate I want something that I can. If it's not in your pocket or in your hand, you don't own it. And
I think it's good to look at. I think that I have a financial advisor, and he actually has Bitcoin. He's had it for quite some time. He's not a big believer in like, hey, take everything. I read this morning that Odell Beckham Jr. is going to take his whole salary from the Rams in Bitcoin. Did you see that, J-Mac? Did you see that?
Yes,
I texted you this morning.
Yeah. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know yet.
I don't know if that's just like a a pump up thing, or I sure he has a lot of extra money, so I don't know what his contract even is, but it's one of those things. I think Bitcoin's, it is somewhat in the future, but will it be regulated? That's the thing. I think it's going to work, but will the government regulate it? That's the question.
If it becomes that strong, and I know people say the government can't touch it, blah, blah, blah. Yes, they can. There's always a way to get their hands on it, whether they ban it, whether they put some crazy tax on it, somehow, some way, you're going to have to do something with it. Like I was listening to what Peter Schiff and what's his name on that podcast last week.
Paul, yeah.
And he's like, well, I can go buy a Lamborghini with it.
Yeah, of course.
Well, yeah, you can, but you still got to register a Lamborghini. When you go to register it, they're going to say, where'd you get the money from? From Bitcoin.
Yeah, so
you can't completely get away with it.
So if the question you're asking me, if a promoter wants to hire me to come for a guest appearance, I will get paid in Bitcoin, yes.
Sure, yeah.
So yes.
Jay, any NFL, MLB, NBA teams ever bring you on to assist on strength and conditioning?
No.
No. But would you want to? Well, I know you wouldn't want to.
I would love to go. I mean, a lot of those guys follow it, know. And,
no, they meant like actual coach.
Oh, no. I don't think like my conditioning and strength training is way different from the athletic background.
That's completely
a lot of explosive, more agility, which we don't do any of that kind of stuff. So it doesn't really fit. And I know some bodybuilders like to promote the fact that they're agile. And I'm sure some of them, we all have careers in, sports backgrounds. I mean, I was more of a high school player. I was not a basketball or football player in college, but I think a lot of these guys love to have, a thought that, hey, I could do what these guys do. But listen, a lot of that's just genetic ability, right?
I remember Tim Grover talking, who was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's coach, just the difference that he had to make in Michael Jordan's physique just from training between basketball and baseball. It was completely different. So what you do as a bodybuilder, I don't know if it's going to have the same type of applications. None of those guys need to be bigger, maybe stronger or faster, but that's a different type of training. But I still, going and doing seminars and stuff like that.
I'd love to. I would love to. I mean, I'm a huge sports fan, so.
It says, Jay, you were a Weider and Muscle Tech athlete in the past. My question, are professional bodybuilders making more money today or back in your era?
I think potentially they can make more money. But unfortunately, hey, I'm going to pay you X to stay home and bodybuild are very few and far between. So it's a lot less than what I was getting paid in that era.
Yes.
I mean, just alone, I'll be quite honest. I mean, I had a 6-figure in salary with Weider alone. And that, would be very difficult to get today from a lot of companies. So we were very committed. And like I said, the circumstance was different. Like I said, when Weider paid me, he had an end goal, and that was to get you to the Olympia. And he had magazines to exploit. There was no other outlet. So you were exclusive, right? Today, social media doesn't allow you to be as exclusive. So the end game of getting a salary to say, hey, you're exclusive to our Instagram or our YouTube, that's not going to happen because everyone has their own personal Instagram. Yes. But what's great is you can capitalize on your branding. Yes. And this is what I stated from the very beginning. When I started a mail order is you become someone, you have a platform, you have a following, you really got to market yourself. And that's where you got to get off the couch. You got to do stuff outside the gym. You need to represent yourself. You need to let your voice be heard and obviously showcase what you do. So I think that there's way more opportunity to make money now. You just have to obviously have a little more enthusiasm to do that.
I would say on this, the guaranteed money was bigger then.
Yes.
But the amount of money you can make now is the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that have 9-figure companies.
Because I feel like fitness is way bigger than before.
Oh,
if you said to me, the real question is Jay Cutler more popular today than I was in 2009 when I won the Olympia? And I'd say yes.
Without a doubt.
100%. More people
have
know.
Access to you.
Yes, more people, but it's also the business has grown, and it's grown because of the alternate divisions of that have, been built by bodybuilding, but of course classic and, men's physique and the women's bikini and all that stuff. So we're way more recognizable. Social media, YouTube is way bigger now. Television is almost absent. It's more like social media, digital, digital advertising.
Even the big
Facebook.
networks, they have their own YouTube channel. And they stream everything,
and everything's through Netflix and whatever else. So I think it's really given a great opportunity.
You have to see the time. You have to be a visionary to a certain degree, and you have to see the direction things are going, and you have to jump on that wave and ride it.
Yeah.
This next question kind of ties into that. Hey, Jay, what do you credit the crazy success for Cutler Nutrition compared to your original Cutler Nutrition line?
My involvement.
Yes.
I think, I basically, I formulate, market, have a say in everything. I mean, I'm a sole owner of the company. I have social media. Like I mentioned, I'm much more popular. I have a great team that helps me with the digital marketing and also a lot of creativity with up-to-date products. And I think my flavors are way better. I think the packaging is way better. But me being behind it a lot more and being able to promote it, being able to travel for it, not competing and limiting myself to certain times of the year. And listen, having a connection with my fans, and being on these platforms such as, this Cutler Cast and Jay Cutler TV and, through jcutler.com, Instagram, everything. I mean, I'm on TikTok and, I got all the age demographics, but I can relate to everyone, which is great. And, it's not limited to bodybuilders, it's more general people. And that's one thing, that I want to say to everyone is we've had great success. And of course we're running our Black Friday sales on jcutler.com. And, we'll be celebrating, this weekend through, Black Friday and Monday also.
So 2 other things to mention. Talk about this.
Yeah. So this is my hashtag legend. This beanie is available at jcutler.com. I'll put the link below. I do have the legend apparel. I have t-shirts, I have sweatshirts, I have hats.
Because it's winter.
Yeah. And it's time to pull out your toque.
And then the other thing I want to mention, and I don't even know, this is on the fly. Let's talk about this little guy right here.
Yeah, the bobbleheads have landed. I actually have a box I just got delivered.
We have people that have no idea how long this has been in process.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I'll tell a little short story. So this guy was able to reach out to me, and we worked on this. He sent this to me as like a project. So this is my headband from the Cut Above video. And of course it has the spandex and the atomic sneakers, and you can see the Jay Cutler belt right there. But this was a ripped towel, and it's very famous now in a lot of these things on Instagram. But we ordered them, we went back and forth, got everything paid. It's funny, I paid in full, and then he said, "Oh, it's shut down.
Yeah, because of coronavirus."
Yeah. So we had to wait, and now they just showed up on my doorstep today. And
if I remember right, this started around February, March.
So these bobbleheads, it's a limited piece. They're going to be available on jcutler.com and on the Jay Cutler shop. I'm going to have them. And obviously, I'm going to do some sort of a package deal where, maybe if you order X amount, you get a free bobblehead. This is great for the desk. This is going to sit on our podcast table, and we'll just ask the Bobble J when
if you buy one, if you ever wanted to, you can
I can sign it. Yeah,
smack it.
But I can sign it where I can sign underneath or just sign here, and it's going to be a collector's piece. This is a one of one, so it's going to be like the one time I think I ran 500 pieces or something. So once they're gone, they're gone. Maybe we'll do a different one. So make sure you guys check them out. We'll be announcing the location soon.
Yeah.
So what else? That's a wrap. All right. So so episode 14, guys. It was like I said, another great weekend. We'll get back to you guys next week. I hope everyone has an amazing Thanksgiving. Yep. Don't overeat. Make sure you get your cardio in, and make sure you continue to pump those weights, because that's what's going to get you through.
Travel
the
safe
season.
This weekend too.
Yeah,
it's the busiest travel weekend of the year.
Yeah. All right.
See you guys next week.
Good.